Welcome to Firearms Friday. I'm Evan Green. I'm the firearms historian for the Wyoming State Museum here in Cheyenne. But today I'm a guest at the Cheyenne Frontier Days Old West Museum. I had a real treat in that they asked me a couple months ago if I would be interested in cataloging their firearms collection. And I said, well, of course I would enjoy that. And it was a good experience. Got to see a lot of really fine firearms. Got to know the staff here at the museum and really appreciated that opportunity. And then the staff invited me, if I was interested, to feature some of their firearms on this Firearms Friday channel. So again, I'm grateful for that opportunity. So what do we have here? This is an Evans repeating rifle. And I don't know, it's I kind of get steampunk vibes from this. I don't think it's a particularly attractive firearm, but it's very, very interesting. The inventor was a guy named Warren Evans. He was a dentist in Maine, and he prepared some prototypes to be tested by the United States Army when they were looking for new long guns. This one did not fare well. It's a fairly complicated mechanism, and it failed the dust test, which means when they threw some sand into the action, it stopped functioning. But what's really interesting about this is that this particular model held 34 rounds in this magazine that constitutes actually the butt of the firearm. And it's not a spring-loaded magazine, it's a helical operation that every time you work that action, it rotates and brings a fresh cartridge into the chamber. One of the downsides is that after you've shot your 34 and want to put one more into the chamber, you've got to work the lever 34 times to get it up there. So again, a fairly interesting firearm, and this is an old model, what they call an old model. There was a transitional model and a new model for a total of about 15,000 firearms between 1874 and 1885 when the company went out of business. And this old model, this is one of 300, and it's in amazing, immaculate condition. The old model, there was only 500 of them made in this configuration, and they're identified by the lack of a wooden buttstock on the bottom side of the magazine tube and by the lack of a dust cover over the action, which may have accounted for its failure in the dust tests, who knows. So again, they made 500 of these. They made 300 in this sporting rifle configuration with an octagon barrel, and they made 50 carbines, and they made 150 military-style muskets. So this is, again, one of 300 of that old model, and quite valuable because not only of the limited number in production, but because it's in like pristine condition. This is the second one I've actually had my hands on. A year or so ago, I went up to the Yellowstone Gateway Museum in Livingston, Montana, and they had one of the new models with the full wood buttstock and the dust cover. And on my way back from there, I stopped at Cody Firearms Museum, and of course they have half a dozen. But this one is just exemplary because of its condition and its rarity. Kind of interesting, it took a proprietary cartridge. The old model took an Evans short, and it had about the ballistic coefficient of a modern 9mm handgun round, but it was still fairly popular. And the transitional model and the new model had an improved and more powerful Evans long. Winchester continued to make ammunition for this gun into the 1920s. we're going to insert a picture. I had this great picture of an Apache Indian with one of these Evans rifles with decorations on the stock. We'll put that into the video. But a really interesting gun. He had a contract to deliver some to Russia, but as Russia is wont to do, they reneged on the contract. He sold a bunch of them to Peru. There was what's called the Guano Wars, when there was a fight in that area over these islands that were encrusted basically with bird manure. But it was an amazing source of nitrates for explosives and for fertilizer. And maybe I can put that picture in there as well, because there's this, it looks like it's a 12-story building, and it's all bird crap. And they're mining it. And there was a big fight over who ought to have access to those islands. And these Evans repeating rifles were involved in that. It's actually really well made, really well finished. It's got some cross-hatching here to break up the glare. And again, a really nice piece of walnut in the stock. And again, it's kind of a steampunk thing, I think. But not particularly attractive to my eyes, but an interesting firearm all the same. So, Evans repeating rifle, the old model. So, if you've got questions or comments, put them in the section down below. You can call the museum and leave a message. I'm not there all the time, but they will take a message and I'll get back to you. If you want to talk about guns or Wyoming history, I'm always glad to do that. So, again, thank you for watching.